Greetings everyone and welcome back to a very special return to the channel where we're going to be checking out the demo for Terra Nil, a game that I covered some time ago in its prototype state. It certainly has changed a lot since then. You'll be happy to know that the gameplay has remained largely undisturbed, but look at these beautiful visuals here. Developed by Free Lives and published now by Devolver Digital, Terra Nil is, well, by their own description, a reverse city builder, but I went a little bit further and I basically put it thusly. It's Factorio in reverse. We take a world that has been choked by industrial excess, a ruined, toxic wasteland, and we try our very hardest to restore balance, restore the world to some echo of its former glory. Ideally, we succeed, and in so doing, we manage to increase the biodiversity. We bring water, flora, fauna, all of these wonderful things that make a planet a living, breathing system. And ideally, we do so with as minimal impact as possible. And I'm not just talking about cleaning what was there before, but rather the efforts that we take to restore the world should themselves leave no trace of those same self-efforts. It's a bit of a strategy game in that regard. And it's honestly just such a chilled, wonderful puzzle game with such a beautiful message that I am so thrilled to have this opportunity to show it off again. Now, as ever, there will be links in the description down below on where you can wishlist this. It is a demo. There isn't a full game available, but the original, the prototype version is still available, and I will have links down there to that as well, where you can bask in its pixel art glory. But with that, I think it is time for us to jump headlong into the game. Welcome to Terra Nil. Your goal is to rejuvenate this wasteland by covering the landscape in greenery. Now, for those of you who have seen my my coverage of the kind of prototype in all of its pixelated glory, will be quite used to most of the UI elements, but I will go over them for anyone who's new to the game in general. Also, let's just take a moment to appreciate this. A way of showing the temperature and the humidity in just a really nice graphical way there. But over here is 100% greenery, or rather 100% the target for our efforts. Understand that this is not 100% of the map covered in greenery. It's the percentage of how much of it I need to cover in a map. So specifically, this is what I need to do and how much of that job I've done, rather than how much area there is to cover. They are two different things, and it's probably worth noting that difference. But down here we have our power generation. A turbine has to be built on rocky outcroppings. The toxin scrubber, which scrubs toxin from the landscape and makes it fertile. And also the irrigator, which, when placed and powered, will change fertile soil into greenery. It will have no effect on toxic soil. Now, there's a really, really important thing about these are one and done. You place them down, and this will turn any toxic soil in its area into fertile soil, and this will turn any fertile soil in its area into greenery. However, they aren't continually doing it. They're not active beyond their initial placement. And that's really important, and we'll get to why in just a moment. We've then got the water pump. If you place it down in these sorts of riverbed areas and power it, it'll start creating water, and the water will spread around. Now, the water is active in how it deals with toxins and greenery. As you can see in the little demo there, it will, anywhere, any kind of riverbanks, it will detoxify, and then will seed greenery. But this is actively doing it. As long as the water's there, it will keep doing this, even if something should change. We've then got the calcifier, which will change the riverbanks into rocky outcroppings, which you can put more generators on. And then finally, the excavator. Now, a word to the wise on this one, and it's something I actually covered in my first taste of this game in general, is initially, whilst there will be times you want to place these down in the first phase, there are 3 phases designated by tabs, which will show up here. Be frugal with placement of this building. It's incredibly expensive and also very, very big. But the other thing to note is that this will make the area around it, that little red highlight there, into a toxic area. And this is where the whole one and done thing about the toxin scrubber and the irrigator come into play. Is if you've placed these down first, this will undo the work and they're not going to just redo it. That's it. So be sure you place these down before you fertilize and then add some greenery in. But enough explaining. Let's get down to business. Let's see. There's a couple of places I can already see immediately that I'm going to want to have some some water pumps on, because these are nice and high, and so the water will run downstream. Now the water will run in both directions from the pump, so my recommendation is not to put it at the head of the river, because as you can see, the little green outline is how far the water is going to travel. But as you can see, as long as it's right on the edge here, it'll still cover this whole area back there, but I'll get a little bit more bang for buck. Obviously, water can't go up hills, so we'll place it there, and there we go. Now, this very neatly demonstrates a couple of things. The cost of placing down any kind of building is taken from my overall available funds, but when I bring greenery back to the landscape, I get funds back. Now, this is a part of the strategy segment of the game. You can 100% lose by placing everything down and then running out of points to be able to continue before you've achieved your goal. Ah, drat, we placed it down just a little bit too low. I thought I'd caught it in the right spot. Oh well. This is the other thing that will be important to understand. It's not about getting everything done perfectly. You don't need things to be done perfectly. Good enough is, well, good enough. It's more about getting most of the map covered rather than all of the map, and leaving like these little gaps. I know it's going to grate on some people's nerves. Those of you who are very finicky about such things will maybe struggle a little bit with this. But trust me, it is better to have a few gaps here and there, especially on this first act of the game. It is more important to get large areas and more bang for buck rather than covering everything in the most efficient pattern that you can. Now, as you can see, we've got this large body of water there, a little bit over here. Now, I actually do kind of want to get over here, so I think this is where an excavator will be a perfect thing to use. If I place the excavator down here, right now, as you can see with the red outline, I'm going to lose a little bit of the greenery. Now, the excavator can't shoot through rocks, but it can shoot down across multiple levels. However, the big thing to take away from this is that because I'm going to change the positioning of the trenches here, I'm going to change the flow of the river. But generally speaking, you don't lose flow. So I'm just going to gain extra movement of the river here. I'm not going to lose the pressure that the water has over there. But definitely put these down infrequently. And as you can see, because the water is an active cleanser of the planet, even though this did get rid of the greenery, the water just put it all back. So that's a really, really good time to use the excavator, I would say. Now, once you've placed down whatever excavators you're going to use, and generally and quite sincerely, do be frugal with their use. Do not place too many of these down, otherwise you're going to run out of money very quickly and probably fail the first act. Now comes the time to start fertilizing things. But one of the, whilst obviously connecting up bodies of water or areas where the river can flow is quite useful, do be mindful of one other use of the excavator, and that is to bring power to certain areas. We can only create windmills on rocky outcrops, and you can create new rocky outcrops by placing down a calcifier. So if there's an area that has no river around it and no means to get power to it or pumps, you may want to use the excavator just to push a little bit of water over there so that you can do something along those lines. And I'm actually feeling the need to place down one more. Now this is actually getting to a point where I'm a little bit concerned about how much we're going to have used, but I think this is going to be important to get the ability to add some rocks over here, and indeed I guess that's going to be as far as we can take it from the water pressure we have, but get power over there. Right, so now time for the next step, the toxin scrubber. Now let's find a nice area to demonstrate how this works. Sure, we'll go over here. Now, as long as you can get one tile of the building onto a powered area, the whole building is powered. And that area of effect that you can see there is where it's going to scrub toxins. An orange area is where it's really going to have no effect because perhaps the area hasn't got any toxins. So we'll pop one there. It's quite good to get the most bang for buck out of these. But do understand that that will probably mean that in some places you're going to forego getting a perfect coverage of non-toxic areas. And you're just going to have to live with that one, sadly. And again, I know it's going to be more of a bother for some people than others. But try and look past that, because later on it'll all be okay. So right now we're just doing broad strokes to try and get everything sorted out. Now, I am going to pop down a calcifier just over here and bring over a little bit more power. Now, wherever possible, I strongly recommend you try to place down things in kind of layers. So get as much fertilizing done as you can, and then move on to adding some greenery. So there we are. We've got enough for one irrigator. Now, it's at this point that you could absolutely lose. So be careful how you're placing things down. I'm familiar with the game, obviously, because I covered it in its prototype stage, and I really gelled. I clicked with the puzzle element to placing things down, the strategy of building this out. So I'm a little bit more brazen, taking a few more risks than perhaps I would otherwise. But don't worry about spending some time. The nice thing about the UI is it'll tell you the expected return. So try and find someone that's going to give you a good return on investment. Around here, 163 is good. 166 there. Show that. Oh, 171. I don't think we're going to get better than 171 in this area. So let's go ahead and pop that down. There we go. Perfect. Right, that's given us a little bit of extra life. Now, you've got different shapes, and they rotate through corner sections to solid, like vertical or horizontal bars. Let's go around here. 147 seems quite nice. Yeah, let's pop that one there. There we go. Now, there is a further element of strategy involved in this that I haven't really covered, because I don't want to do it's very easy to info dump on people, especially if you're familiar with the game. But there are, in the second and the third act, there are going to be reasons why you want to kind of have discrete areas. By that, what I mean is an area where contiguous green landscape is broken up by natural breaks, such as the trenches, rivers, so on and so forth. Do paint the world so that you have areas that can be kept separate from one another. That will massively help you later on. Let's pop that one right about there. I think that's going to be quite a nice little spot for greenery. Let's go ahead and connect these up. I can get at most 132, it looks like, around here. Yeah, 132, probably the best I'm getting there. Let's see if a vertical one would help out a little bit more. Actually, I saw 138 there. Sure, we'll go with that. Let's get that 138. Thank you very, very nicely indeed. We're keeping okay with the amount of credits we have for further terraforming. So I think we're doing all right now. But it is getting into a little bit of a worrisome area. I do like to have a little bit more credit on hand to deal with things, but for now I guess we're going to just have to accept this one. We can get 66 back from here. As long as you're making more back than you're putting into it, it's fine. But do be aware that it's very easy to spiral out of control there. 75. Sure, I think we'll go with 75. Let's just see if there's anything more. No, I think 75 is a pretty solid one. We'll go with that. There we go. And we want a couple more toxin scrubbers up here. And actually, I think getting a vertical bar going somewhere up here would actually be quite nice. 129, 142. We'll go with the 142, sure. Now, we're up over 50% of the greenery on the landscape, and as you can probably already tell, just from a cursory glance, we've clearly not covered 50% of the landscape in greenery. We've definitely not covered almost 60% of it in greenery. So that's just reinforcing the idea that this is how much I have to do, not how much there is to do. I've just got to complete this it's some arbitrary number, but I'm 60%, or well, almost 60% of the way towards completing my task. But that is not the same as 60% of the way to covering the entire area with greenery. There we are. Let's get a few of these just tucked in here. Now I'm going to need a little bit of power down here. That's going to be a bit of a tricky one. I could put a power generator there and try and squeeze something down, but I think the best thing to do would be to get a new wind turbine down here, because I can probably squeeze that in quite high up there as a consequence. Yeah, I think that'll be good. Right, let's go ahead and try and place down a little bit more greenery. We've got 138, 157, 176 on an L block. I'm pretty impressed, actually. Well, I guess corner block. It doesn't have one leg longer than the other. I'm not really sure it counts as an L. Still. The line pieces, though, 176 there. That's actually fantastically good. Let's go with that. There you go. We're up to 69% now. 79, 83. That's actually quite nice. 83 there, I think we'll go for. Now, I could have placed down a little toxin scrubber there, but the amount of energy I'm putting into it then starts to be less in my favor, let's say. I think, yeah, we're just going to pop this one in here and get as much as we can. 78 there, 80, 82. That's pretty good. Sure, we'll grab that. We're now at 80% of the map, or rather 80% of our target greenery managed over here. That's pretty good. Let's get some down here and a third one over there. A nice little trio. That'll give us plenty of coverage. Over here is going to be harder, though. I think we're going to want another calcifier in position. Now, be aware that the calcifiers do actually block river access. The pumps, as you can see, there's room underneath them. The calcifiers, where I've placed them, I've tried not to have them block a river. They are blocking this river. The water can pass, but later on we're going to want to be able to move along the rivers, and the calcifier there is going to block passage. So try to bear that in mind when you're positioning your calcifiers. Now, we're in dangerous territory at this point. I can afford to place this, so I will, but we are definitely at the point now where if I don't get more than 50 back from this, we lose. I've been a little bit more bold, again, because I'm familiar with the game, but don't worry about, as much as I said, do things in layers. If you're getting close to all of the resources you have, don't be afraid of just placing one toxin scrubber down and then maybe going for an irrigator just to sort that out. There is nothing wrong with that strategy. Let's see, 76 there. Sure, let's pop that one in there. That's quite nice. We're up to 93% now. We're pretty close at this point. Let's go ahead. I think we're going to want to try and get some another calcifier around here. Unfortunately, that is going to block this river, and that is a pain. But we need the power to be distributed over here. Now, this is going to give us one use. I'm going to place this down, and I'm going to have exactly one more irrigator to place. I am playing so close to the wire right now. Let's see. This is where Aavak's hubris is going to come in and bite him in the bum. Okay, 145 is the best I'm going to get out of that, but that will push us over the 100% mark. You have successfully repopulated this wasteland with plant life. Now increase the biodiversity of the ecosystem by restoring 3 biomes. Press the number 2 tab below to access new buildings. There we go. So we've got new goals and new buildings with which to achieve those goals. We do not get an influx of more energy. If you were hoping for that, do be aware that when you're placing this down, you're not just trying to complete that first tab, you're trying to set yourself up with enough energy to do the next bit of work. But we've now got a research center. This is a one and done. You only ever need to build this once, but it will make calcifiers, pumps, excavators, and scrubbers cheaper, and excavators will be smaller. It is an absolutely worthwhile expense. Just go ahead and pop that down straight away. I'll quickly demonstrate now. As you can see, they are half the expense. Calcifier, I think Calcifier only came down a little bit in cost, but Excavator half the expense, and it is now tiny compared to before, which is perfect. Again, watch your money early on. Now, the new things that we've got the Hydroporium. podium rather. This has to be built on top of irrigators near water, and it will create wetland. And we've got to get a certain amount of wetland biomes available. We've got the beehive, which is placed on trees. Now, I didn't really touch on trees previously, but you'll notice there are a couple of trees around the map. Those are the only trees you're going to get, so be careful with them. But this will give us funboss flowers, as bees will pollinate that area, and that's another part of the biodiversity we need. And finally, we've got the arboretum. Now, the arboretum is an interesting one, because we can't place that just yet. It has to be placed on a burnt-out building, and will turn an area which has got ash nearby into forest. The way you get ash is with the solar amplifier, which will dry out an area, and will also then facilitate the use of a desiccator to start a fire. And that fire will spread across all connected greenery. And this is why I was saying you do want areas that are kind of distinct from one another. They're nice and isolated so that you can actually use these together. Now, in the original, in the prototype version of the game, and again, I will include links down in the description below if you want to check it out. I believe it is still available on itch.io. You can use... there are more buildings besides, and more biomes that you can use, and there are more maps indeed, so you may get some fun out of that. But let's go ahead and start off with some wetland, shall we? Let's see, how many areas can we use for wetland? Well, that one doesn't give me a lot. In fact, we'd lose money on that one. But this one will give me quite a lot. We'll earn points for the amount of areas we place. But again, this costs 50. We'd end up losing points by placing it there. We would, of course, generate a little bit of progress towards our goal. But we would ultimately lose points overall. Now, I can't place one there. Let's see. This one would give me quite a lot, but it's not a very good position for one. I can instead go ahead and place down, for example, something like this. And I might be able to use that then. But let's first get this area properly fertilized. We're going to place down a irrigator around here. I'm going to try and get this area fertilized as well. So let's do that. Just about there will do. And this will give me quite a lot of new area where I can have wetland. There we are. And my hope is that this can be used. Yes, there we go. That gives us, well, it doesn't give us actually that much, but still, it brings us closer to our goal, which is quite important. Now, at this stage, I can afford to be a little bit more aggressive with my placements and just hunt for every little last bit and start filling things in. But again, I would still caution a little bit of, well, frugality, I guess I would say. That one isn't going to give us back much, but it is going to bring us much closer to our goal, which is ultimately what I'm looking for right now. I would like to get some more wetland over here, perhaps. That might be a good move. So let's see what we can do. I may actually be able to get most of this area in one go. That would actually be brilliant. Let's pop that down and get a nice connection there. Let's just make sure we're reasonably close. I hope that that's close enough. We'll see. Ah, thank goodness. I thought for a moment it wasn't. That would have been kind of embarrassing, but there we go. But we still need one more. Will this give us enough? No, that doesn't give us nearly enough to get what we want. I wonder if perhaps placing an irrigator in here would help. Let's see. Place one in there. And yes, this will push us over the amount we need. So we've got a nice amount of wetland. Now that gives us all that kind of biodiversity we need. Now it's time to start playing with the trees. So over here, this is not going to give us too much. I wasn't very aware of the trees placement there, despite having said that you do need to be aware of it. This one will give us a decent amount. So let's go ahead with that. Next up, let's grab you as well. Okay, let's bring us somewhat closer. We might actually struggle. Ooh, we will actually struggle. Alright. Are there any other trees on the map? No. Ah, drat, damn, and blast. I really should have gone for those first. But it looks like it's not going to be possible for me to get the last little bit. We may be able to recover by placing these down. Let's see. Let's go ahead and fill this area out. Get a little bit more of these along. There we go. And something over here. Maybe this will cause a tree to spawn. I don't know if it will. I think we might struggle with this now. But we'll see what we can do. At the very least... Oh, wait. Of course. We might be able to get past this. Haha. We need to put these in trees. And what are we about to make? We're about to make a bunch of trees. Oh, I panicked. I'm not going to lie. There was a moment of panic, of perhaps one could even say terror. I was quite concerned that I had made a very big mistake, but it seems we may actually get by without too much embarrassment. Right, we're going to place this one here because I want to connect up to this little bit of greenery here because we've got a decent connection all the way along. Though I am going to go and place this down just to make sure that I do connect up the greenery all along here where I can. There we are. Now, let's get a fire going right about there. Would be wonderful. There we go. Now, the wetland itself isn't going to be cooked too much. And in fact, we are going to lose a little bit of this. But where we can then place down the arboretum, we will be able to get some more trees to place beehives in. There we go, and this should spread all the way up and around. We are losing the buildings, sadly, but we don't need to worry about it. We are fertilizing the ground with rich deposits of ash that we will then be able to make use of for our arboretum. Right, let's go ahead and try and get this as widely spread as we can. That's 89 there. I think we shall. Let's go ahead. That brings us a very great deal of the way to where we need to be. Now, with that in place... There we go. Oh, that came worryingly close, actually. We'll probably get another one somewhere around here as well. That'll give us 16, 19. This will give us 53. We'll go with the 53. There we go. And another hive just about there. Perfect. That's lovely. And finally, will this give us enough? It may well do. There we go. Oh. We've snatched a victory from the jaws of defeat. With biodiversity restored, we can begin the process of cleaning up. You need to construct an airship of recycled materials. You've also been given access to an advanced weather technology. Okay. Alright, so, as you can see, we have made progress towards our goal. But we've got a couple of things to deal with now. This is these are all of the technologies that we're going to be using to put nature back the way it was without any sign that we had to intervene. Because ultimately, we messed the planet up. We're not just fixing it, we're trying to put it back the way it was before we were around. And you're going to start seeing fauna starting to show up. We'll see deers, bears, fish, frogs, all sorts of things as we return the biodiversity here. We've got the airship. Now, the airship needs to be placed next to a river, and ultimately, this is what we're going to be packing everything back into before we leave. The recycling drone, which will navigate the waterways to bring materials back to the airship. We've got the silo, which, when placed, will pull all of the nearby buildings into the silo. And then we'll load that into the loading dock, which the recycling drone will visit and then take it back. We've also got some locks to allow us to move up and down elevation should we need to. But the first thing we're going to do, because this is going to make everything else a lot easier, is we are going to try and restore the weather pattern here. Now, we can add a humidity pylon. Uses water and wetlands to increase humidity, but wasteland decreases it. We can also add the temperature pylon. This will use an amplifier to increase the ambient temperature. We don't need that. Based on the fires that we've had and all of the other changes we've made, we're actually at the temperature that we need. So humidity pylon is what we want, and it looks like this is built on the stone areas as well. Now, we want something... Ooh, I'll only give us 4%. I'll give us 9%. I mean, you know, it's good enough, I suppose. Let's see, around there. 9% here. 11. Ooh, we'll go with an 11, sure. Let's go ahead and place that down. There we are. Moving ever so slightly towards our goal. Perfect. And we want another humidity pylon. That's only 3%. That's really not good enough for us. 12% over here would be lovely. That will pretty much put us right where it needs to be. That's all we needed, really. That should pull it all the way into the golden marker. And as you can hear, the weather system is being restored. We've now got rains. And the rains shall fix all of those niggling little problems that I was mentioning before. We will soon start seeing a storm happening. And all of this toxic landscape and indeed the fertilized areas will start being seeded with plant life and be cleansed. There we go. And this is where you're going to start getting a big return on investment. Because now the whole map is going to be turned green, which is a huge, huge bonus for us. Okay, now, time for us to start taking care of things. First and foremost, we need a location to place our hover area. We can build it down here on the wetlands. I'd rather not ruin the wetlands if I can avoid it. But I do want it on the main river. Down here, looks like it would be good. There we go. We'll just pop it right there. There we go. And that should now allow a drone to access it. I'll place the drone down. Now, the drone doesn't have any work yet, so let's start giving them some work. Now, generally speaking, I want to avoid having the drone have to cross elevations. But that doesn't look like something I'm going to be able to avoid completely. We do have quite a lot of items back here in this area, so I'm going to place that down there, that silo. I'm going to place this silo down here. Now, here's the lucky part, is I can place this. This has to be within range of the silos. If the silos can reach it, then the silos can dump into it. Now, this I can place down on the lower area, and as you can see, that means we don't have to place the locked in order to get up there. There we are. Load that into the drone. The drone will collect the loading station as well, and then we'll deliver that over to the hover building. Now, when the buildings get deleted, they'll leave a little bit of area, fertile ground or toxic ground, but the rains will eventually cover those up as well. Next up, let's find another position we can kind of squeeze this in there. I'll grab a couple of these buildings. Let's see if we can't get a couple more besides. Ooh, that one looks like it's going to be a tricky one no matter what I do. So I'm going to place this here. Probably able to grab all of those. Very nice. Place this one down here. There we go. I think we're probably going to have to place 2 of these. I don't think we're going to be lucky enough to get all of them at once. Our little drone should already be on its way. Once that's done, I'm going to want to place this around here within range of this silo. Just so that we can pick that up as well. I'll pop that one down there. The drone should be able to go to both of them. I don't think the drone has any kind of inventory, not anything that you need to worry about at any rate. The game is not... It isn't Factorio in that regard. You know, you don't have to worry about the efficient placement of your loading buildings to maximize the back and forth of your drones, so it's not spending too much time traveling or anything like that. But do be aware that the placement of these silos, you can definitely be more efficient and less efficient depending on how you go with it. This should be able to catch you. There we go. That's perfect. Now, over here, I would very much like to get rid of that calcifier and free up this whole area for myself. There we go. Now we can get through there normally. I've got a couple of buildings. In fact, all of those buildings together. Perfect. Drone is already on its way. Well done. We'll place this down here. We'll grab from both of those silos. This one, we should be okay. Grab quite a few buildings there. As you can see, the airship is coming together as we deliver more and more items to it. And one of the things that I honestly geeked out a little bit about this with the original, with the prototype version, is that the airship was literally made of the stuff that we were collecting. It wasn't just like, you know, hand wavy. Oh yeah, you know, that is the, you know, you are moving these buildings around, so on and so forth. You know, it legitimately was made of the stuff you collected. So it was made of like turbine pieces, and you could see the buildings that had been placed on it, which I thought was absolutely Absolutely wonderful. Damn, I did get rid of that that pump over there, which does mean that this area isn't quite as useful to me just yet, but we can fix that, don't you worry. We're going to place this down here. Now, don't worry about me reintroducing a little bit of toxic land here. That will all get fixed relatively soon. Pretty much as soon as the rains come along. There we go. Speak of the devil. There we are. And we've connected all of this up, which means I should be able to get away with putting a pump up here, if we can power it. Let me see. Can I squeeze something just close enough? I think I'm going to have to place a wind turbine. Maybe. Well, I can't seem to place one over there, which is a bit of a shame. Never mind. The lakes are being filled. That's fine. Just needed to be a little bit more patient. There we go. Right, let's get that those couple of buildings in here as well. There we are. And see if we can't get all of these at the same time. We might be able to. There we go. And these are the very last buildings that need to be collected. Now, as soon as this little area is filled up with water, which shouldn't be too long for us, I will be able to clear all of the rest. And thankfully, it does give you these handy little indicators of where the last buildings are, because you could easily lose one behind a bunch of trees. Oh, look, there are some bears. Let's go in and have a quick gander. Are there any frogs? Yes, there's a frog right there. Some fish as well. I really love the details in this game. It's very obviously a passion project, this one. Right, let's pop this one down. Our final drone, or rather our final drone trip to collect what's left of our infrastructure and return it. There we go, and the river has filled in. Return it to the airship. 100% waiting for drone. And as you can see, all of the wind turbines there, the greenhouses, the hydroponiums. Was that the right? Yeah, hydroponium. I was doubting myself there. You can see the little domes there, the distinct designs of the arboretums. I love the fact that this is clearly built out of everything that we used. The fan blades from the toxin scrubbers. It's just, there are so many details that you can find. But it is finally time for us to launch. Our work here is done. But don't worry. If you're already thinking about it, don't worry. We're not going to forget the drone. You can't leave drones just randomly lying around. Who knows what kind of horrors we might come back to on this planet at whatever point do we return, and our drones are left without some regulating intelligence have decided to just industrialize the whole planet again. Maybe that's the origin story of Factorio. But there we are. And we're heading out. We have done our work. The wasteland has been reclaimed. And look at that. From toxic wasteland to quite a beautiful, well, you know, a little bit marshy. It's probably incredibly humid. If this is warm, I might not, like someone like me might not particularly be able to appreciate this area. I'm more into bogs than I am into swamps. And so, depending on the temperature, I might want to marvel at the scene from a distance, from you know, a mountain away, perhaps, where the climate is very different. But that is it. We've completed everything we needed to do, and in fact, we have come towards the end of this episode. I really, really hope you have enjoyed. And as a final little touch there, we can see that island has now been reclaimed. Once again, those of you who are familiar with the prototype that I have covered in the past, it's clear that the same inspiration and the intent is to have multiple islands, and you go to each one and perhaps the whole globe and reclaim each one. The islands are procedurally generated. That map you just saw me on there, that was procedurally generated, so you're going to have a different experience each time. But that is going to be it for me for now. I really, really do hope you've enjoyed. I hope you will check this out. Please do consider adding it to your Steam wishlist if you have enjoyed this video, and indeed if you liked what you saw and you want to see more, consider leaving a comment and or a like down below. And may the blessings of Saint Algorithmus ring out across the verdant wonderlands that we are preparing. But that is it for now. So until next time, and as always, do take care, everyone. And yes, there is a button down there that says I prefer factories. And if you click it, it actually takes you to the Steam page of Factorio.